Thanks, Amanda. Mayor Lori Lightfoot and City Council recently confirmed the city's newest alderperson, taking over for former Alderman Patrick Daley Thompson, who was convicted of federal tax fraud. And joining us now is the new 11th Ward Alderwoman Nicole Lee. Alderwoman Lee, thank you so much for joining us. Now, you've been on the job here for about 3 weeks, taking over in difficult circumstances. What's been the hardest part of this transition?
Paris, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. I think the hardest part of the transition has just been trying to get my arms around all that the job entails. And I'm learning something new. Actually, I'm learning probably 7 new things a day as I go along here.
That's a big learning curve. And are there a huge backlog of requests from 11th Ward residents?
I don't really have a point of reference for what huge actually is, but there's a backlog of things. There are certain things that only the alderperson can approve. So the staff that were still in the office following my predecessor's conviction did a great job for what they could do to keep things moving. But certainly there were things that have been held up. Permits and things like that we're just we're getting through them right now. Kind
of all the dirty work of every alderperson, the permits and the tree trimming and all that. As you know,
yes.
Yeah, of all that fun stuff. And as you know, Asian Americans are the fastest growing demographic in the city of Chicago. There's been a well-documented rise in anti-Asian hate crime throughout COVID. What can you do on your perch at City Council to address that?
You know, I think that the rise in anti-Asian hate has been a really terrible thing across this country, and obviously in particular here it hits home for the Chicago residents, and I live here in Chinatown, and we've also seen a rise on that front as well. I think that being a representative on the Chicago City Council is like the first really big step in really putting a face and humanizing us in a way that maybe residents haven't seen us before, and just seeing us as regular people just like them, and not some other group.
Yeah, and you are the lone Asian American alderperson on City Council right now. There was one previously, Alderman Patrick, who's no longer there. As you know, lots of city business to get to. Mayor Lightfoot is going to make her pick on a city casino. One of the possible locations is the 78 right near Chinatown. Are you supportive of a casino proposal so close to your ward?
So, you know what, Paris, I'm doing a lot of listening right now. My focus in the first couple of weeks has really just been getting my arms around all of what the residents need and what the backlog has been. So I participated in the 78 presentation town hall last week. I'm going to be co-hosting and co-sponsoring a town hall with some other organizations and elected officials, specifically in Chinatown, to hear some feedback and thoughts from residents about the 78 project. So I'll be doing a lot of listening.
What have your residents said so far about the project?
You know, what I've heard are sort of arguments on both sides. You know, a lot of concern for whether or not a new casino will bring crime, safety and traffic concerns. Obviously, we want to be able to get back and forth reasonably well. And then also the issue of gambling addiction in the Asian American community, and you know, worries and concerns that that our community will be preyed upon.
All right,
I've also heard from business owners too about looking for the opportunity for more business to come to Chinatown and the South Loop and Bridgeport as well. So I think there are concerns on both sides. The casino's coming to Chicago. I think we've got a lot to weigh, and I'm going to look forward to listening a little bit more and hearing from residents more specifically about their concerns and what we can do to mitigate the bad stuff, if you will, and to make the best of any new development in the city.
A lot to keep in mind, although certainly there might be a spillover impact on all those great businesses in Chinatown of folks going to a casino. As you know, the 11th Ward is set to be redrawn. There are 2 competing maps out there, one backed by the Black Caucus, one backed by the Latino Caucus. In both of those maps, it would create an Asian American majority ward in your ward, the 11th Ward. Is there any map that looks better in your eyes?
Well, I actually haven't looked at either map very closely yet. You know, right now I'm representing the residents of today's 11th Ward, and I'm going to review both maps with those residents and their concerns in mind.
And this, if there isn't some kind of deal among alder people, will go to a public referendum. Folks have said they don't want that to happen. It could lead to kind of a racial fight. Do you worry about this going to a referendum? Would you prefer that it gets solved by City Council?
I think it would always be better for it to be solved by City Council. From what I understand from past history, when these have gone to referendum, it becomes a very expensive bill for the residents of Chicago to pay for, ultimately. So, what I'm hoping for is that some sort of resolution be made. But ultimately, if that comes to a referendum, that the people will decide.
Beyond the issues we've talked about, what are the other top of mind issues that you're hearing from some of your community members?
Safety. I've talked about that previously, as I've been introduced to the public. My top priority and top concern of residents is safety. Just a couple days ago, there was an incident in the ward where, unfortunately, and very tragically, a young lady lost her life. There was a shooting that happened as a result of a car chase that came in from outside the ward and ended across the street from a park where a lot of children were outside playing on the first warm day of the spring season. So it is at the top of my mind. I know it's the top of everybody's mind in the city, especially leaders right now.
And absolutely. And in a year, you and all of your colleagues and the mayor will be up for re-election. You've said that you haven't decided yet whether you want to run for a full term in that office. Have you decided yet? And if not, what's your time frame?
I haven't decided yet. I'm into the third week of the job, and I really want to be sure that this is a job that I can do and do well before I ask the residents of the 11th Ward to consider me somebody that could represent them longer term.
All right, well, we'll watch for that. Alderwoman Nicole, congratulations on the job, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Paris. Have a good evening.
You as well.